Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. This is a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express, the most important news and editorial of the day that is relevant for the preparation of civil services examination will be discussed in this session. Let's get started with the news topic list. Today is 29th of November, the first important news that is 4th India-France Annual Defense Dialogue. Second, Center plans to document culture of tribal societies. Third, right to religion does not include right to convert. This is what the Supreme Court has to take the cognizance of this part, and the Center has filed an affidavit in this regard to the Apex Court. Fourth, third round of India-EU trade agreement, and the last is an editorial, lost and damaged decision, pitfalls and promises. Apart from the news and editorial discussion, at the end of this video, there will be MCQ based questions. These questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming prelims examination. So without any further delay, let's get started. And before I begin this session, those of you who are new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do press a like button. Starting the session with the first news, that is 4th India-France Annual Defense Dialogue, something important for General Studies Paper 2 under the subtopic that is bilateral, regional, grouping and agreement involving India and affecting India's interest. So recently, the Defense Minister of India has co-chaired the 4th India-France Annual Defense Dialogue with French Minister of Armed Forces. And according to the Defense Ministry of India, a wide range of bilateral, regional and defense industrial cooperations will be there that will be discussed in the meeting. And if you talk about India's impetus on putting India, on making India for defense manufacturing ki agar baat kare, India has been always vocal on that part, and India is always looking forward to augment the entire manufacturing in the defense. The minister reviewed the ongoing military to military cooperations between India and France, and which will be something sustainable in the longer run. Now, France is one of the country when it comes to the trade between India and France. So France is one of India's most trusted strategic partner, both when country look forward with celebrating 25 years of strategic partnership in 2023. A very important question for the mains examination. You can get a direct question in the mains about the partnership between India and France. Now, focus on Make in India. This is what India has been pitching for a longer duration of time. So discussion for this dialogue will include the defense industrial cooperation with focus on Make in India, full collaboration and potential co-productions opportunities. Technical group from both countries should meet each year to next year and will find the key cooperation areas and look forward to it. And focus on Indo-Pacific, which India has already called for in many other multilateral forums. So this would be also an important point to be discussed with regards to the Indo-Pacific. Strengthening the maritime cooperation. So the 4th India-France Annual Defense Dialogue will discuss the means to strengthen the maritime cooperations and will increase the scope for complexity of the bilateral exercises, right? और भी बहुत ऐसी फोरम है जहाँ पे इंडिया ने मैरीटाइम कॉपरेशंस की बात की है, ओकस है, क्वाड है. So these are some of the important forum that will be definitely augmenting the part in terms of maritime cooperations. Now, India and France has recently held the bilateral exercise Garuda at the Air Force Station recently in Jodhpur. Now, defense cooperations की अगर बात करें, India and France have different dialogue in the minister level. 3 ऐसे इंपॉर्टेंट एक्सरसाइज हैं अलग अलग फोर्सेस के साथ जो की जाती हैं विद द कॉपरेशन ऑफ फ्रांस. सो अगर आर्मी की बात करें, देयर इज अ एक्सरसाइज शक्ति बिटवीन इंडियन आर्मी एंड फ्रांस आर्मी. देन देयर इज एक्सरसाइज वरुणा फ्रॉम इंडियन आर्मी एंड फ्रेंच नेवी. देन देयर इज एक्सरसाइज गरुड़ा बिटवीन इंडियन एयर फोर्स एंड द फ्रांस एयर फोर्स. सो दीज आर सम ऑफ द इंपॉर्टेंट एक्सरसाइजेस बिटवीन इंडिया एंड फ्रांस. Moving to the other news, Center plan to document culture of tribal society, something important for General Studies Paper 2. That is schemes for the vulnerable section of the population by the center and the state government. The National Commission for Scheduled Tribe, along with the Union government, is now pushing for a redocumentation of the culture and social practices of indigenous tribe society that exist बेसिकली जो बात की गई है दैट इज विथ रिगार्ड्स टू द एग्जिस्टिंग स्कॉलर लिटरेचर बाय विच it sees heavily reliance on the body of knowledge created by the colonizing government. So now the government wanted कि ऐसी थ्योरी या फिर ऐसे रिसर्च एक्टिविटीज बढ़ाए जाए जो कि एक इम्पार्शियल हो. There should be dependent on the practicality of the tribe and reality of them should be reported and that should be studied further. Now, what is the roadmap? The plan aims to encourage more sociologists, anthropologists, researchers from Indian indigenous and tribal communities to research and document the cultural part of the tribal people, the social part of the tribal people, and the historical practice of their own community. So this will give an added advantage to the community when they are reading and researching about their own livelihood, about their own tribes, about their own ancestral history. Right? So this aims to replace the colonial era working on the subject. Right? This will enable the government to understand the tribal society, identify and what is betterment for them, how the things can work, what are the possible way out, how the government can intervene in augmenting the overall functioning and basically improving the life of the tribal people can be studied and reported back to the government. The President of India has said that the knowledge of the tribal community needs to include the Indian Knowledge Center, that the national education policy now focuses on knowledge of the tribal community that will play an important role in making India a knowledge superpower. गवर्नमेंट के क्या मेजर्स लिए गए हैं अभी तक इस कंटेक्स्ट में? देयर आर लॉट ऑफ मेजर्स दैट हैज बीन टेकन फ्रॉम द गवर्नमेंट एंड द कंसर्न मिनिस्ट्रीज आर आल्सो वर्किंग. अगर मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ ट्राइबल अफेयर या मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न रीजन की बात करें, ये दोनों मिनिस्ट्रीज ऐसी हैं जो कि डेडिकेटली नॉर्थ ईस्ट में या खास करके ट्राइबल एरियाज में डेवलपमेंट की काम कर रही है. So first among them is support to Tribal Research Institute. The Ministry of Development of the Northeastern region has extended the support to the state government through the scheme called Support to Tribal Research Institute और नई TRI establish की गई है. और ये जो TRI होगी ये strengthen करेगी पूरे functioning को. This will carry out the responsibility towards research and documentation, training, capacity building and even give rich tribal heritage experience, and it will give more robustness in terms of experimenting that is taking place for the tribal ethnicity. Other important government measures include the tribal festival, research, information and mass communications. So through this scheme, the tribal festival, research, information and mass education, this aims to promote and give rich tribal cultural heritage, disseminations of information and creating awareness at given, which includes some of the important parts that like organization of tribal craft and food festival, sports, music, dance and photo competitions to make people aware and give a competitive feeling with regards to the basically coming to the mainstream. Science, art and craft expo, workshop and seminars are also being organized by the Government of India. Productions of documentary films by the ministry and the state, bringing out publications thereby highlighting the significant studies. Now, documenting historical facets of the tribal communities, again, the significant part of it. Now, moving to the other news, a right to religions does not include the right to convert, something important for General Studies Paper 2, under the subtopic, that is government policies and intervention for the development of various sectors and issues arising from a design and implementations. So recently, the center has informed the Supreme Court that the right to freedom of religion does not include a fundamental right to convert people to a particular religion. This was an affidavit that was filed before the Honorable Supreme Court by the central government. So as you know that the right to freedom of religion is a fundamental right under the Indian Constitution, but you cannot force anyone to convert to any of the religion, right? The central government said that there's a cognizance of a menace that the law seeks to control such practices and are necessary to protect the cherished right of the vulnerable section of the society that include the women, economically and social backward classes. Now, Supreme Court response on the plea, the center's stand come on short affidavit in response to a plea seeking directions to take stringent step to control the fraudulent religious conversion by intimating through gift and monetary benefit. तो किसी भी तरह से किसी individual को basically you cannot ask anyone forcefully to convert, or either you cannot by any other means there cannot be a conversion of a religion. So the bench of the Supreme Court judges, while hearing the matter, have observed that it was not against the religious conversion but a forced conversion, and asked the center to file a detailed affidavit on the issue, taking the information from the state government as well. So this has been postponed in December. Now the next discussion will take place, and the Attorney General and the Solicitor General will definitely have to mention the details about the stand on the central government. Now the affidavit informed that the public order being a subject varies to Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Gujarat, Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand, Karnataka, Haryana have passed a law seeking for the curb forced conversion of the religion. The plea also served that the directions to the Law Commission of India prepare a report as well as a bill to control the rigorous conversion by intimating and monetary benefits. Article 25 of the Indian Constitution. Article 25 of the Indian Constitution call for freedom of conscience and free procession, practice and propaganda of religions. The center in its affidavit in the Supreme Court has said that the apex court has already, in the case of the word propagates under Article 25 of the Constitution, does not envisage the right to convert a person, but a right to spread one religion by exploitations of its tenets, right? So you cannot ask forcefully to convert any religions. We have the freedom of right, but freedom of right has certain limitation that a forceful conversion cannot be allowed in a country like India. Now moving to the other news, third round of India-EU free trade agreement, something important for General Studies paper 3. Paper 2 precisely, that is bilateral regional grouping and agreement involving India and affecting India's interest. So India and European Union are scheduled to begin their third round of free trade agreement negotiation on November 28 and continued until 9th of November 2022. The signing of a strategic partnership agreement in 2007 marked the beginning of the discussions between the two parties, which continued till 2013. India and European Union and even are celebrating 60 years of bilateral ties. Focus area की अगर बात करें, the focus area for both countries will include the market access of digital commerce, agriculture products, geographical indications. India and EU negotiation are anticipating to cover the investment protections agreement. India-EU trade relations के बारे में, if you're writing in mains paper, you can highlight this data that India is the second largest partner. India is the second largest partner after the United States and second largest recipients of the good from the European Union at the moment. And India's bilateral trade with EU has increased by 43.5%, reaching up to 116.36 billion. India anticipates the growth in industries that include textile, leather, sports, equipment and processed food since the proposed of the free trade agreement, right? They may put India an equal footing with export and revival nations like Bangladesh. Vietnam has already been privileged access to EU market. Moving to the editorial of the day, loss and damage, decision, pitfalls and promises, something important for General Studies paper 3, that is the conversion, environmental pollutions, conservation, environmental pollutions, degradation and EIA. It is also important for General Studies paper 2, where basically these are concerned like bilateral regional grouping and agreement are concerned. So both of things are important there. And you can get a question from the prelims as well as mains examination. This is a topic which will cover both the prelims and mains part. So what is the main agenda of this editorial? Talking about the theme, the COP27 and loss and damage fund that was recently formulated. And some of the important aspects of this editorial include the mitigation strategy, the past and present future, taxing the fossil fuel firms and the way ahead. Now, the major takeaway from the COP27 in Egypt, the city name is Sharm el-Sheikh. As far as loss and damage is concerned, the decision relating to the new funding arrangement was there, and that fund was known as loss and damage fund. Those particularly will help the countries that are adversely impacted due to climate change because of the developed countries' industrialization and many sort of things. The decision include a transition commitment to prepare elements related to operationalization, related to funding arrangement, and even adaptations of the COP28. So this will call for a new sense of arrangement in terms of climate financing. The decision restored the faith of the countries, especially those vulnerable in processing of the multilateralism. Now, there's question over the new lost and damaged fund for the non-compliances by developed countries as far as the climate finance are concerned. The new funding arrangement will have the complete and existential agreement include the fund processes initiative outside the convention and the Paris Agreement, which will assist in mobilizing the new additional resources. Mitigation strategies की अगर बात करें, the mitigation centric strategy will definitely call for negotiation of Article 2 of the UNFCCC, that is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, or adaptations fund की अगर बात करें, that is again the second important pillar of the climate change. Will definitely go for the greenhouse concentration and achievement, the level of the prevention dangers to the human induced interference, climate system, allowing the ecosystem to adapt naturally to the climate change. The loss and damage fund could gain tractions from 2 decades to the climate negotiation at the Paris Agreement in 2015 as well. And this part of the agreement that come up with many sort of challenges and basically roadmap was a part of the Paris climate change. Now, present, past, and future. Basically, in the entire climate change negotiation, the developed countries have consistently opposing a liable and climate-related adverse consequences because most developed countries will be definitely finding it liable to adhere to the norms that is set in the global platforms, right? तो अगर compensation की बात की जाए तो उन countries को पैसे भी देने होंगे and even they have to reduce the emission as well. So that is the reason most developed countries are not coming in alignment with the negotiation. The compensation aspect involve a serious legal hurdle of establishing the causal relationship between the injures and the victim. तो injures की बात की जाए तो यहाँ पे developed countries को आप injures रख सकते हैं and जो developing countries हैं they are the part of the victim. The funding was again accessed from the contributor across the formula model in 1963 that was also known as Brussels Convention on Supplementary to the Paris Convention on a third party liability in the field of nuclear energy, right? इसमें 50% based parties relative contributions की गई थी due to emissions, and this year a prior contribution and 50% based on the party relative share of the gross national production this year in terms of the contribution year will be there, right? So future की अगर बात करें, हर एक countries which are emitting have to set a standard, have to come up with a sustainability, और past में जितनी mistakes हुई हैं उनके लिए जो developed countries हैं they need to compensate to the developing countries. Now, taxing the fossil firms is again important. So idea of taxing the fossil fuel firms and the gas company need to have research as it indicate an alternative to nation approach climate change negotiation. This idea highlights that the substantial emissions have come to the fossil fuel sourced from non-exit country which include China, India, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Iran, Brazil, Mexico and other countries which include the non-scale emitters like Nigeria, Venezuela, Kuwait, Angola, Malaysia and Libya. Now, way ahead in this context would be both developed and developing countries ought not to have momentum and work harder to ensure that the COP27 and even COP28 in the coming will be credible catalyzing and are not mere occasion of the hollow victories. Further, there is a need to sustain a political commitment to raise new finance beside ensuring that the finance is better targeted at reductions, emission and vulnerability. So these things need to be taken care of. अगर vulnerability की बात की जाए, India is also committed to have all the target set by 2030 and 2070 for the net zero emissions. और भी countries को ये बताई गई है कि वो अपने net zero emissions जो हैं वो 2050 तक achieve करें. So if everyone is contributing as a whole will definitely help to overcome the problem of the climate finance and the repercussions that are involved and seeing in terms of the carbon emissions. Now moving to the MCQ questions of the day. Before I proceed, just to tell you the answers of yesterday questions. For first question, the correct option is B. For second question, the correct option is C. Today's MCQ for practice. You have to tell Financial Action Task Force के बारे में आपको बताना है. It's an intergovernmental body. The objective of FATF are to set standard and promote effective implementation of legal, regulatory, operational measures for combating the money laundering and terror financing. So do check it out for the correct option. A, B, C, or D? Now, the second question of the day, Comprehensive Economic Cooperation and Partnership Agreement, so known as CECPA, is between which among the following countries? India is Mauritius, India, Sri Lanka, Japan and India, India and Maldives. So do check it out for the correct option. अगर comprehensive economic partnership agreement की अगर बात की जाए, so these type of agreement is very important in terms of establishing a good bilateral relationship between the countries. So do check it out for the correct option. These type of questions will definitely help you to get an edge over the upcoming prelims examination. And this was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis. If you have any other concern, you can let me know. I'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.